The movie recap begins in 1989, where Mike O'Donnell, a handsome high school basketball star, is practicing his shots alone in the gym. Coach Murphy walks in and tells him to take it easy, as a scout is coming to tonight's game, and Mike is a shoo-in for a scholarship. The coach calls all the players over for a team photo, but Mike asks them to wait for Ned, the water boy. The others scoff, but Mike insists Ned's part of the team. Ned Gold walks in dressed in a wizard robe, having just finished playing Dungeon Master with some other geeks. The other players laugh at him, but Mike, his best friend, defends him and tries to show support. They line up for the photo, and just as the camera clicks, one of the jocks gives Ned a wedgie, making him jump. Before the game, the Hayden Warriors cheerleaders perform their routine. Mike joins in, dancing and posing for the cheering crowd. As he gets ready to play, he spots his girlfriend, Scarlett, waving to him from the stands. He runs to embrace her and talks about how important this game is for him, and how the scholarship could define his entire future. He even shows her a special shot he prepared just for her. Scarlett seems hesitant. Mike asks what's wrong, and although she tries to deflect and suggests talking after the game, he presses her. She finally tells him what's on her mind, and the news hits him hard. He appears completely distraught. The game begins, but Mike is not focused. He stands still on the court, dribbling the ball in a daze, lost in his thoughts. His team, his coach, the scout, and the audience all watch in confusion as he does nothing. Then, he sees Scarlett leaving. In a snap decision, Mike throws the ball over his shoulder, shocking everyone, and runs after her. The coach watches the scout symbolically close his notebook. Mike catches up to Scarlett and tells her he wants to be there for her. She says he has a future ahead of him, but he replies that the baby is his future. She tries to pull away, but he kisses her, ending the conversation. 20 years later, Mike wakes up at his friend Ned's house. Ned is now a billionaire and his house is F-illed with eccentric collectibles. He even disguises himself as a gnome with rubber ears. Over breakfast, they discuss Scarlett kicking Mike out of the house, that they're going through a divorce, and that his children want nothing to do with him. Ned tries to cheer him up by pointing out the positives. Ned couldn't find any positives to lift Mike's spirits. However, Mike was about to get a big promotion at the pharmaceutical company where he had worked for 16 years, and he was excited about it. At White Pharmaceuticals, Mike sits in a meeting where his boss, Dean, is presenting a new drug that gives a 4-hour erection. All the other attendees at the conference table are attractive women. Dean brings up the promotion, and everyone pays attention. To Mike's shock, Dean announces that the promotion has been given to one of the women. As they celebrate, Mike sits stunned. After the meeting, Mike confronts Dean. He reminds him that he's been with the company for 16 years, while the woman joined only a few months ago, and that he has the best numbers on the team. Dean dismisses him to take a phone call. Enraged, Mike rips Dean's Bluetooth earpiece off and smashes it against the wall. As the celebrating women get into the elevator, Mike stands holding a box containing his belongings, clearly defeated. It's clear he's been fired. Mike drives to his old high school, Hayden. He enters the empty gym and stands on the basketball court, lost in thought. He then looks at the trophy case in the hallway and finds a photo of his team from 1989. The school janitor walks up and recognizes him. He says Mike was a high school star who never reached his potential. He says people come back to relive their glory days. Mike admits the past was better for him. The janitor asks him if he wants a second chance, and Mike, full of nostalgia, says yes. The janitor smiles. A bell rings and Mike's daughter Maggie appears in the hallway with her friends. Mike turns around. The janitor is already gone. He says he came to take Maggie and her brother for ice cream. He drags the kids to an ice cream parlor clearly meant for young children. Mike, Maggie, and Alex sit quietly at a table. Neither Maggie nor Alex are happy to be there, especially with their father. Mike asks Maggie what's wrong, recalling it used to be her favorite place. Maggie replies that was when she was 8, and purposely puts her headphones in her ear while Alex keeps his eyes glued to his PSP. Mike tries to talk to Alex about basketball, assuming he's on the school team. Alex only pretends to play, so Mike will back off and then deflects the conversation to Maggie. Maggie tries to congratulate him, but acts like she's lost in the music, even though her headphones aren't plugged in. Mike drops them off at home. Both head inside without a word. In the yard, Mike sees Scarlett tossing his belongings into a wood chipper. She tells him she's re-landscaping the yard as a front for her new landscape design business. He tells her not to touch the yard. He put a lot of effort into it. She reminds him he only ever started building a half-finished barbecue pit that he worked on for half an hour. Then, he spent the next 2 days complaining that if he had gone to college, he would have hired someone else to do it. The same thing happened with the swing set that lay half-assembled for years. Scarlett tells him she is tired of hearing him complain for 19 years that he ruined his life because of her. Mike admits his disappointment in his life. Angry at his words, Scarlett retorts that they are now no longer holding each other back. Scarlett's friend, Naomi, arrives at that moment. Mike and Naomi clearly don't get along. Naomi encourages Scarlett to start dating again. Scarlett bids Mike farewell and goes back inside. Depressed, Mike drives off as it starts to rain. He drives through the storm, and his car radio begins to stutter, rapidly flipping through stations. At one point, he hears the janitor's voice on the radio. As he drives over a bridge, he spots a man standing on the edge, appearing ready to jump. Mike slams on the brakes and shouts. The man turns around. It's the Hayden High janitor. At that moment, a truck blocks the view. When it passes, the janitor is already gone. Mike runs to the edge and looks down. To his shock, he sees a vortex in the water, and his younger self reaching out to him. Suddenly, Mike slips and falls. Later, Mike appears at Ned's house completely soaked and covered in mud. He stands in the shower washing himself, then he looks in the mirror and screams. He has been transformed back into his 17-year-old self. Ned wakes up in his Star Wars-themed bed, terrified by the screaming. In the bathroom, Mike stares at his reflection in disbelief. Ned creeps into the room wearing a Spartan helmet and carrying a battle axe. He sees the strange young man, assumes he's an intruder, and swings. Thanks to Ned's endless supply of novelty weapons, they end up in a full-blown brawl. Mike tries to explain who he is, but Ned is too scared to listen. Mike is younger, faster, and more agile, so he holds his own. They even end up fighting with lightsabers. Mike brings up specific memories only the real Mike would know. But Ned, being a rich and public figure, suspects he's just someone who stalked him online and memorized details. Eventually, Mike gets the upper hand, but Ned pretends to give up, then kicks Mike in the thigh once his guard is down. As Ned is about to finish him off with a picture frame, he catches a glimpse of their 1989 graduation photo. He and Mike together. A little later, Ned has put things together using all his comic book knowledge and pop culture references. He deduces, through a whimsical deduction process, that Mike must have gone through a magical transformation by a spirit guide. He explains that some kind of spirit guide has sent Mike back to put his life back on track. Mike realizes the janitor must have been his spirit guide. Still in Mike's old, dirty, oversized suit, Mike runs back to Hayden High. He anxiously asks students if they've seen the janitor. He finds a female janitor who tells him she's the only one working there. As she leaves, Mike notices Alex. He calls out to his son, but Alex scurries off like a frightened puppy. Suddenly, the hallway lights begin to flicker. Mike notices he's standing in a puddle of water. Following a trail of water, he finds a mop and bucket left outside a room. He peeks inside and sees it's the basketball court. Mike returns to Ned and excitedly announces that he knows what he needs to do. He's going back to high school. Ned is skeptical, but Mike believes his spirit guide gave him a second chance. Ned says it's ridiculous, and no spirit guide would waste magic just so Mike could relive his senior year. Ned was bullied in school, so he wouldn't help Mike or go back to Hayden. In the next scene, Ned is dressed sharp and standing in front of the school secretary pretending to be Mike's father. While they wait for a meeting, Ned criticizes Mike's outfit, calling it weird. Mike proudly says it's a cool look and that he's imitating Kevin Federline's style. They enter Principal Jane Masterson's office. Ned is instantly smitten once he sees her and hears her beautiful voice. He immediately begins fantasizing about her as a character from Lord of the Rings. Ned tries to flirt with her, but being a geek, he does so in the most awkward way possible. Mike introduces himself as Mark, Ned's son. Jane is impressed with his straight-A transcript and accepts him into the school. As they finalize things, Ned continues to be embarrassing. He even asks permission to smell her hair. Mike is dying of secondhand embarrassment. Jane quickly tells him she doesn't date the parents of her students and rushes Ned out of the office. As they walk through the hallways, students stare at Mike's Kevin Federline-inspired outfit. But having been smitten by the principal, Ned is now completely on board and decides to help Mike with everything. So Ned takes Mike shopping. The next day, Mike arrives at school in a Ferrari dressed sharp. His daughter's friends are clearly impressed. On his way into the building, he catches the attention of other students. Then the bell rings and the hallways fill with students who bump into him as they pass. Before class, Mike gets a call from Scarlett. He's late for their divorce hearing. He puts her on speaker so everyone in the courtroom can hear her. He tries to lie, claiming he's out of the country in Peru, but in the background, cheerleaders can be heard cheering. Mike sees Maggie entering class and asks Scarlett to postpone the hearing, saying he's closer to the kids than she realizes. Mike waves to Maggie and she looks completely confused. Later during gym class, Mike discovers he still has all his old basketball skills. Happy about how effed he is, he tells the other kids to enjoy their young bodies because in 10 years, they'll all have big bellies. Coach Murphy, now 20 years older, watches him. Murphy says it's his last year coaching and encourages Mike to try out for the team as a point guard. In the bathroom, Mike calls Ned to tell him the good news. Ned replies by asking Mike to get into trouble, so Principal Masterson is forced to meet him again. After they finish the call, Mike notices Alex taped to a toilet. Mike is shocked and enraged, asking who did it. Alex says it was the basketball team. Mike is surprised to learn his son isn't even on the team and is treated like a total loser. Mike introduces himself as Mark Gold, Ned's cousin, and begins untaping Alex to free him. They head to lunch, where Mike tells Alex they have to look out for each other. Alex seems interested in a girl named Nicole, the head cheerleader. Mike tries to give him advice on how to act around women. At that moment, the basketball team, led by Stan, enters the cafeteria, shoving smaller kids and stealing their lunches on their way. Mike asks if this is the guy who taped Alex to the toilet. Alex says yes, and adds that Stan shoved him in the washing machine at their house yesterday. Alex explains that his sister Maggie is dating Stan. When Mike sees Maggie and Stan kissing, he is visibly upset. Stan approaches their table and starts pushing Alex around. Mike defends him, and Stan scolds him in a mature, authoritarian tone. Stan tries to provoke him, but Mike responds with a harsh lecture about bullying, verbally humiliating Stan in front of everyone. Then, to add insult to injury, he shows off his dribbling skills, intimidating Stan and earning cheers from the entire cafeteria. Mike returns to Ned's house and gorges on junk food, specifically a sandwich made of chocolate, mayonnaise, pickles, potato chips, and cheese. As he eats, Mike laments the state of his kids' lives. His son is a punching bag, and his daughter is dating a bully. But now, everything is becoming clear. He realizes his spirit path is to help his kids. He drives to his ex-wife's house and spots Alex in the yard shooting hoops. To Mike's surprise, Alex is very good at basketball. He realizes Alex must be on the basketball team, and that this is part of his mission. At that moment, Scarlett and Naomi walk into the driveway. Alex introduces Mike as Mark, Ned's bastard son. Scarlett is shocked when she sees Mike. He looks so much like her husband. She grabs his face and pulls his cheeks, noting how uncanny the resemblance is. Naomi quickly pulls her away, encouraging her to start dating again. Naomi even begins to explain how to move on in a very detailed manner. This annoys Mike, and he throws a basketball at her, then quickly apologizes while still politely scolding her for trying to set up a married woman. The next day at school, Mike enters class and finds Stan and Maggie kissing. He awkwardly interrupts them and sits down. The topic of the day is abstinence. Mike jumps in and says, "That's a great idea," suggesting everyone make an abstinence pact. The class erupts in laughter and disbelief. The teacher, knowing abstinence isn't likely to happen, pivots the lesson to safe sex and passes a box of condoms around. Mike is horrified when Stan grabs a large quantity. Mike says he doesn't need any, and that he will only have sex with the girl he loves. He explains that sex should be reserved for married couples who want to have children. He adds that love is that first moment you hold your baby girl and realize nothing could ever be too small or too fragile, and you feel her little heartbeats and know you can't love anything more in the whole world. And you hope you can do right by that little girl and always be there to catch her when she falls, and nothing will ever hurt her. No broken arm or bad dream or broken heart. Some girls are visibly moved and start returning the condoms, but Stan grabs more and forcefully kisses Maggie. Enraged, Mike lunges at Stan. They fight, but Mike gets beaten up. The entire fight is caught on students' phones and goes viral throughout the school. Mike is called to the principal's office with his father, Ned, who shows up dressed sharply to impress. Mike asks him what he's wearing. Ned tells him it's a peacocking look, a seduction technique. Inside Jane's office, Ned tries an awkward peacocking technique to flirt with her. Later, Mike stops by Scarlett's house and finds her in the backyard setting up for some landscaping. She explains her plans to renovate the yard, including adding a pond with water features. She asks him what he called her, because her husband is the only one who calls her Scar. Mike quickly changes the subject, offering to help. Eventually, he manages to convince her he really wants to help. Over the next few days, Mike coaches Alex in basketball. Mike also does his best to keep Maggie away from Stan. Meanwhile, Mike helps Scarlett in the backyard. At the same time, Ned continues to stalk Principal Jane, constantly annoying her with his eccentric flirting attempts. He sends her inappropriate gifts and tries to impress her by picking her up after work in different fancy cars. But instead of impressing her, it mostly annoys her. After days of hard work, both Mike and Alex make the basketball team. Scarlett congratulates her son. Mike joins in, instinctively acting like her husband, but Scarlett tells him it's inappropriate. Scarlett shows them the completed backyard, and it looks beautiful. Mike compliments her and encourages her to start a business. She is impressed by his support. Then she tells him she has a date that evening involving dancing. Later, Mike sees Scarlett dancing in front of a mirror and asks her to teach him. He boldly changes the music to a song from their wedding, confusing Scarlett. He tells her it was their wedding song. Mike pushes boundaries, gets too close, and it's clear he's caught up in the moment. Scarlett tries to redirect him back to focusing on the dance, but they eventually start smoothly dancing together. As they dance, Mike asks her about her husband if there's any chance they'll get back together. She says she's pretty sure there isn't. He presses further, asking why she's so sure. As he spins her in his arms, they are suddenly interrupted by Alex. He tells them her date has arrived. At the front door, Mike meets the man and immediately starts making fun of him. He's clearly upset and tries to convince Scarlett not to go. Before leaving, she hands him divorce papers and asks him to give them to Mike, assuming both he and Mark are living at Ned's house. Immediately after Scarlett leaves, Stan shows up to pick Maggie up for a party, and Mike brings Alex with him to the party to keep an eye on her. The party is at a bowling alley. Alex is nervous, but Mike reassures him that he's now part of the basketball team. He has every right to be there, and no one will bother him anymore. They spot Nicole, and Alex immediately tries to run away, but Mike stops him. He tells Alex he's not a loser and practically forces him to go up to her. Alex awkwardly approaches Nicole and nervously compliments her. In the process, he gets too close to a candle and his pants catch fire. He runs frantically to the bathroom to put it out. While looking for Maggie, he's cornered by 3 of her friends who try to seduce him. Mike finds Maggie and sits next to her. He asks her what she sees in Stan. She casually replies that after high school, she and Stan plan to move in together. He'll work at Home Depot while she attends community college to be closer to him. Mike is shocked, forgetting he's supposed to be just a fellow student, not her father. He angrily forbids her from seeing Stan. The next day, there's a basketball game. Scarlett is in the audience with her date. Hayden High is down by a few points. During the game, Mike sees Stan kissing Maggie and is visibly upset. Fueled by emotion, he scores a few quick points to cut the deficit. With seconds left, Mike gets the ball. Coach Murphy orders him to pass to Stan, and the rest of the team expects him to follow. But instead, Mike passes the ball to Alex, who makes a three-pointer, snatching victory for the team. Alex becomes the hero of the game. Everyone cheers and celebrates while Stan remains furious. Nicole congratulates Alex and leans in to hug him. After the game, Ned corners Principal Jane and asks her out to dinner. She's annoyed by his past antics, and Ned tries to win her over by promising to buy every student a laptop. She reluctantly agrees, but only on strict terms. No flashy gestures, no inappropriate gifts, and he has to promise to behave. With Ned now preoccupied with the principal, Mike seizes the moment and announces a party at his house to help Alex impress Nicole. Later, Mike finds Maggie crying and goes to comfort her. Weeping, she tells him Stan broke up with her because she refused to have sex with him. Mike is greatly relieved and consoles her, but Maggie misunderstands his paternal support and tries to kiss him. Mike quickly deflects the moment and invites her to the party instead. Word spreads quickly, and soon the entire school knows about the party. Meanwhile, at a fancy restaurant, Ned tries to act sophisticated in front of Jane, but he eventually messes up. He drops the act and speaks from the heart, admitting he's just a geek trying to impress her. To his surprise, she turns out to be just as much of a geek as he is. They start speaking Elvish to each other. That night, all the students pour into Ned's house for the party. Mike sees Alex finally hitting it off with Nicole. Stan shows up drunk at the party and tries to apologize to Maggie. She ignores him, telling him she's with someone else. Mike intervenes and warns Stan to leave before he calls the police. Stan insults Maggie, which prompts Mike to punch him. Mike misses and Stan punches Mike, knocking him down. When Mike regains consciousness, he finds his head on Maggie's lap as she strokes him. Horrified, he backs away, but she playfully jumps on him, thinking it's a game. To stop her, he tells her he has another girlfriend. She accepts and walks away. At the party, things get out of hand. Kids are messing with Ned's expensive geek collectibles. Scarlett shows up looking for Alex. Mike tells her Alex has a girlfriend now and offers to take her to them. When Ned finally arrives home, he's furious at the mess. He screams at everyone to leave, but the kids ignore him. Then Jane steps in, issues a stern order as the principal, and the students immediately disperse. Outside, Scarlett and Mike watch Alex kiss Nicole. Scarlett is very happy and thanks Mike for being such a good male role model. As they talk in the heat of the moment, Mike suddenly kisses Scarlett. Maggie and her friends see everything in shock. Scarlett slaps Mike and rushes away. Mike chases after her, yelling that he's not Mark. He's her husband, the father of her children. This drives her insane and she screams at him before driving away. Then Maggie approaches, calls him a pervert, and slaps him. Her friends follow, all of them slapping him too. Jane turns to Ned and says, "This is why I don't date my students' parents," before leaving. Mike apologizes to Ned. The next morning, Ned is cleaning up the party aftermath while Mike complains about everything he ruined. Ned reminds him he has a divorce hearing in 20 minutes. Using police sirens, Ned rushes Mike to court in his convertible Ferrari. Inside the courtroom, Ned bursts in, pretending to be Mike's lawyer. As usual, he has forged documents to back it up. But he acts so bizarrely that the judge orders the bailiffs to remove both Ned and Mike from the courtroom. As he's being dragged, Mike shouts that he has a message from Mike O'Donnell. Scarlett asks the judge if she can hear it. Mike reads the letter, barely holding back tears. He reminisces about the first time he met Scarlett and confesses how deeply he loves her. He apologizes for blaming her for his failures. Even though he doesn't want to lose her, he says he's willing to let her go if it means she can move on and be happy. When he finishes, Mike drops the paper and walks out. Moved by his words, Scarlett asks the judge to postpone the hearing. Out of curiosity, she picks up the paper he left behind and sees it's just a hearing notice with the date and address. At Ned's house, Mike is playing basketball and says his family will be better off without him. He's ready to move on and go to college. At Scarlett's house, she flips through a high school yearbook and finds Mike's 1989 photo. Then, outside on the swing set Mike finally fixed, she sees his wedding ring and a handwritten note. In the note, He apologizes for not finishing what he started. On the basketball court, just like at the beginning of the movie, Coach Murphy tells Mike there's a scout coming and he's a shoo-in. A team photo is taken. As the game is about to start, Scarlett and Maggie walk in. Maggie tells her mom she plans to go to Georgetown University, just as Mike once hoped. Ned approaches Jane and says he can't lose her and wants to start over. After a few lines in Tolkien speak, their spark reignites. The game begins. Mike looks up and sees Scarlett in the stands. He performs the same special shot he once made for her. Scarlett understands what's happening, stands up and starts to walk away. Just like at the beginning of the movie, he sees her near the stands about to leave. The coach, the audience, the scout, everything is unfolding in the same way. This time, Mike makes the same choice. He gives the ball to Alex and runs after Scarlett. As he leaves the court, the janitor watches with a smile. Alex is subbed into the game. Mike runs through the hallway, and as he does, his vision blurs. He's passing through the portal. Just before he reaches the door, Scarlett appears behind him and asks if it's really him. It is. He's back to his true self, her husband. He tells her he loves her and wants to be with her. He promises to make it up to her. Scarlett forgives him, and they kiss. Thanks to Alex, Hayden High wins the game. A few days later, Mike stops by Ned's bedroom to return his house key and thank him. But to his surprise, he finds Principal Jane under the covers. Mike calls her boss because now that Coach Murphy has retired after 20 years, Mike is the new basketball coach. Ned gives him a brand new whistle. And with that, the movie ends.